The other question is about the importance of having your birth certificate name on your voter card. We know that there has been issues surrounding that in the past two elections. You, as the supervisor of elections, of course, did not have a clearly defined legislation where a birth certificate name was needed on the voter card. And we will not go into other areas because the matter is before the court. We've had some questions about it, but we will not go there. But how has that affected your work, knowing that people did not have their birth certificate names on the voter card?
Well, I'll speak procedurally on an elections perspective, and I will not look at the legality or the illegality of this. Let's look at it from an elections perspective. We are in the middle of an election registration drive. This question demands to be answered, and it does not have any bearing or influence on any other matter. So, with that disclaimer, first and foremost, a voter list is the primary document that allows you the transaction, which is your right to vote. At your polling station, that is the primary document. You are on the list, you can vote. You are not on the list, you cannot vote. Now, there are very many principles around the voter list, and one of them being that the voter list excuse me, must be verifiable. How do you verify a voter list? A voter list is verified by looking at a person to the list and the list to the person. Meaning, you pick up the voter list today and you go and stand outside and you call 20 people from the voter list, that 20 people need to raise their hand. Now, the other one would be 20 people walk up to you and say, I want to find myself on the voter list, and that should be possible because they have their voter card. The problem arises when you cannot verify these 20 people as one being of 18 years of age or a valid citizen of Fiji. How does a person become a citizen of Fiji? Under section 55 of the Constitution, you are a citizen of Fiji if you are born in Fiji, a birth certificate, or by naturalization, which is a certificate of citizenship. And your age being 18 is verified by no other document than your birth certificate. Not your notice of birth, not anything else but your birth certificate. A passport is not proof of your birth. So, how does the Fijian Elections Office keep the voter list verifiable? We run it against the BDM register, Birth, Deaths and Marriages register, and we run it against the list of citizens at the Immigration Department. Now, the way to test the names and dates of birth with the BDM register is you must get 100% match. Otherwise, if you can't get 100% match, tomorrow somebody can come and object, say for example your own registration, to say Vijay Narayan is not a citizen of Fiji. So, what will be the test to prove citizenry? You will say, I have a birth certificate. And you rock up to me and say, my birth certificate says, may I use an example?
Sure you will.
Vijay Kumar. So, how do I then prove that you are Vijay Kumar on the voter list? I can't, because you are Vijay Narayan on the voter list. Your date of birth matches, your residential address matches, but Mr. Narayan, you are not a citizen of Fiji, I have to remove you from the list.
I just want to ask one question.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, this requirement was needed.
Yes.
Didn't you see as the supervisor of elections that this should be a requirement to save us all this hassle?
So, an election is a continuous development and an improvement process. Sometimes you may not get everything right on the first go, but it doesn't mean the election was faulty. But you continue to improve. I mean, if you don't continue to improve, then you would still be using wooden ballot boxes that were there from 2006 and the big wooden platform dividers and the curtains. I mean, we had to give away bales and bales of curtains from the elections office. Nobody uses that. We use cardboard voting booths now. I mean, nobody's complaining about that. That's an improvement from 2006. But with the voter list, it's a continued process of improvement, continued process of verification. Now, your question is very interesting. We need to continuously find new ways of verifying the voter list to ensure that the voter list, one, doesn't get bloated with people who are not entitled to vote, Number 2, it doesn't get bloated with deceased persons. If you have watched that movie Bhutnath, Bhutnath was a case where a person who was recorded as deceased contested the election in India simply because at that time the law in India did not stop deceased persons from contesting elections. So, we have to remove those ineligible people from the list. Now, a person who